Okay, so next I'm going to review my dynamic risk assessment for my aerobic session plan. Um, so first of all, immediately prior to the arrival of the participants, a safety issue which arose was that it had been raining that day, so the floor was really slippery, which could be a risk for people falling over and stuff. So the options we considered were that we could abort the session, so not carry on with it, but we thought that that was not appropriate because it wasn't too dangerous. If they were to fall over, it would have only been on grass. So instead, we just warned the participants that the floor was wet and just to be careful when you're running, don't take corners too quickly because you'll probably fall over. And the risk was quite low, so that was fine. Next, when the participants actually arrived, when asking if anyone had any illnesses, injuries or disabilities, someone did tell us that they had ADHD. The options which we thought of were that we could ask them to sit out of the session if we thought it was a risk. However, that's it due to the fact that it's a learning disability rather than a physical disability. It wasn't appropriate to ask the participant to sit out at all, so it had no impact on the session at all, and just we allowed the session to go on as before. Next, the delivery of the physical activities. So a safety issue which arose there was that two people during the session did actually collide with each other and fall over. We had a few options here. We could have stopped the session completely, or at least paused it, which we did do. Someone who was first aid trained, who was running the session with us, one of the marshals, went over and just made sure they were okay. We did consider first aid as well, but it turned out none of this was appropriate. They're both fine, not injured at all, and once we were sure that they were okay, we allowed the session to continue. And finally, immediately after the conclusion of the physical work within the session, no safety issues arose. However, one thing we did do was we wanted to avoid anybody feeling muscle soreness or any pain the next day as much as possible, or even later on that day from doing the actual work. So we chose to do a cool down just to be safe, make sure everyone was helped to get rid of the lactic acid and stuff in the system, just to make sure nobody felt any discomfort at all. And finally, how effective was our session in addressing the issue, and what perhaps would have been a better approach? Well, although issues did arise, we did deal with them quickly and effectively, and we know this as there was no injury throughout the session and there were no real dangerous occurrences other than the collision, but that can't really be helped when there's a lot of people running around. The only way I see we could improve that is we could make sure the participants split up with enough space in between them that they don't collide, and there's enough space either side of the participants on the track so that they don't collide with each other, so they can go around each other nicely. And at the end of the session, we asked participants to rate us 1 to 10 on how safe and comfortable they felt throughout the session. The lowest score we received was an 8, which is very good, but obviously there is room for improvement. And we asked them about this, and they said the same thing. Due to the collision, they felt there could have been a bit more room on either side of the people running, so that an overtake was easy. And they also said that we should have said if you were going to overtake, you should go out on the left and then overtake, and then come back into the right once you've overtaken them, so there's room for other people to overtake. Other than that, though, everybody said they felt safe and comfortable throughout the session, and there was no real risks.